We want to join Rodney Scott, a former chief of the U.S. Border Patrol under both the Trump and the Biden administrations. Good morning to you, Rodney. I want to know about the optics here, because even in the pictures that we ran before Allie's reporting, there were people at basically like thigh-height water. So are these buoys in an area where people are actually just stepping into the water, they're able to wade through on kind of like a sandbar or something? I mean, this is not a boat in really deep water encountering these buoys, or is it? Do you know?
No, the river in that area, well, the depth can change very rapidly with just one or two steps. But it's not a navigable part of the river as far as what an average American would consider navigable. You can put a canoe or a kayak in it. You can walk through most of it. The buoy barriers were put in place to actually protect Texas. And really what this comes down to, and the judge's ruling, is about that permission aspect. Well, unfortunately, IBWC and the current regulation processes are controlled by this administration, and they've made it very clear that they don't want anything to hamper illegal immigration or the drug cartel flow, if you will, even. I agree with Art. We looked at these buoys when I was the chief of the U.S. Border Patrol. That's where this really all started. Decided they were likely a very effective tool to put in that river to save lives, because that current, even though the water's shallow, washes people away all the time. And we're trying to find ways to deter people from getting in that water in the first place. And those buoys were effectively doing that. The judge didn't make any rulings on that. He just ruled about the permission aspect. And I think Texas anticipated this, and they will appeal it.
So this is a tactic potentially by that judge, because he knows that maybe there's no other legal course of action to deter Abbott from keeping these buoys in the water, that it really was about, you didn't ask please first, like mother may I?
Really, I believe that's the legal thing that it came down to. I won't try to get into the judge's mind per se, but the judges looked at the Harbors and Rivers Acts. He looked at the law that does require permission before you put anything into navigable waters. The Army Corps of Engineers has to approve it. Texas is saying the safety of the nation, the safety of Texas should override that, and that it's really not navigable waters as it was determined to be years and years ago in completely different circumstances when there was more water in the river. I think they knew it went to appeal, and they're ready for that appeal. But really what this comes down to is, why is the administration fighting any type of proactive border security that actually is proven to save lives and to protect America? That's the political argument behind the scenes, but the judge ruled on a very technical legal argument about permission.
Well, you've got two sides to this. You have Texas saying this is inhumane to allow people to get into the water. They're saying they're trying to save lives. The Biden administration and this judge saying they want to save lives by removing the buoy, saying people could be harmed by it. Just to show us or tell us something we don't know, do you believe that those buoys are in a place, especially since they were moved because Mexico complained that they were in Mexican waters, closer to the shore? Does that actually stop people who are trying to cross illegally through the river, rather than at the entry points, like they're technically supposed to, from getting into some of those currents that you talked about where they could be swept away? Is it a blockade to some of those faster moving waters?
Yes, I believe it is. That's why Texas put it in place. And if you look at the numbers, and I think even some reporting from Allie the last few days of migrants literally avoiding the barriers, the buoy barriers, and going around them, it proved that they actually work. They were only deployed in a very, very short section. Texas didn't put it along the entire river. They were actually testing out, how does this work? And not only did it push them out of that small area, we've seen a significant switch for the cartels. Now they're pushing more and more illegal immigration through through Arizona in the heat of the summer, putting people's lives even at more risk. This literally needs to be a conversation about, what are we really doing right now? This chaos at the border is empowering the cartels, giving them more money than ever before, and they're the ones putting people's lives at risk. We should all be on the same page trying to protect America. Every administration prior to the Biden administration was on the same page, but for whatever reason, the Biden administration doesn't want anything that has to do with border security at all on that southwest border. They want to process people into the United States as quickly as possible. And that has created this chaos. The buoys are just one part of that bigger argument.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.